President Trump is representing our country. He's the right guy to do deals. He's a deal maker, and I think he'll come out of this summit with a lot of business opportunity.
Few politicians have mastered the art of reinvention quite like Lindsey Graham. Known for his shifting political alliances and fiery rhetoric, he has held the spotlight in Washington for decades. But beneath the public persona lies a story filled with unexpected challenges, hidden relationships, and quiet sacrifices that the world has barely glimpsed. What compelled a boy from a small South Carolina bar to rise all the way to the U.S. Senate while juggling a secret personal life? How did he survive ruthless political battles and personal loss, yet keep his ambitions alive? The hidden double life. Lindsey Graham's public image is that of a straightforward, sometimes blunt political figure who wears his convictions on his sleeve. But beneath this veneer lies a story shrouded in mystery, a private life that has sparked whispered speculation and prompted questions no one expected. Rumors about his personal relationships have swirled quietly for years, often dismissed or ignored by mainstream media. Yet they persist with an uncanny intensity. This double life, as some have called it, casts a shadow over the man behind the Senate podium, hinting at complexities that defy his carefully crafted public persona. For nearly 3 decades, Graham has maintained a steady presence in Washington, juggling alliances and often shifting positions as political winds changed. Yet, throughout his career, there have been lingering controversies that don't quite fit the open-book image politicians sometimes portray. In 2020, a particularly explosive social media accusation rekindled interest in Graham's private affairs, igniting a firestorm of speculation around his relationships and identity. Despite his reputation as a staunch conservative voice, these claims opened a crack into a side of him that few had seen or dared to explore openly. Interestingly, Graham has consistently and firmly denied all allegations related to his personal life that contradict his public statements. He insists on his heterosexuality and dismisses rumors as baseless attacks aimed at undermining his credibility. Yet the disconnect between his rigid public stance and the persistent rumors suggests a life compartmentalized, with layers that remain concealed. This duality between the elected official and the private individual fuels intrigue, making people wonder what else might be hidden behind the scenes of his political career. The actual information remains concealed because Graham and his associates maintain strict control over its disclosure. Graham maintains exceptional control over his personal life, which most public figures eventually lose. The silence between the two parties creates a mysterious atmosphere that attracts both observers and critics who want to know more about the situation. Graham's continuous denial of facts creates an increasing curiosity because his denial brings additional mystery to the case. The hidden existence of Graham presents a fascinating study because it stands in sharp contrast with his political past and his public image. Throughout his entire life, he has worked in politics within a conservative state, where he publicly supported traditional values while defending social issues that contradict the private rumors about him. The situation presents a paradox because it shows a man who hides his actual self behind different public and private personas. The study of Lindsey Graham's public life will show how his public achievements developed through his social environment and life experiences. His rumored personal connections form the main focus of this mystery, which examines how these personal connections affect his political connections and his public conduct. Graham's inner circle protects his reputation by revealing little information about him while they choose to remain loyal to him. The study examines how personal decisions shape governmental policy and whether personal and public domains can ever achieve complete harmony. Graham has maintained his professional success through his ability to manage this difficult situation, but his success comes at a high cost to his personal life. Before we delve deeper into the hidden dimensions of Graham's personal life, we must first understand the origins of his journey. Humble beginnings in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham's story starts not in the political halls of Washington, but in a modest, segregated town in South Carolina. Born on July 9, 1955, in central South Carolina, Graham grew up in a world still grappling with deep racial divisions and economic hardship. His childhood was spent in the back room of the family's bar, the Sanitary Cafe, a place where the realities of life came early and often harsh. This environment forced Graham to mature quickly, exposed to the struggles and tensions simmering within his community. Life at the Sanitary Cafe was far from easy. The bar doubled as a restaurant, and young Lindsey shared the cramped space with his family while also navigating the flux of customers, many of whom came from working-class backgrounds connected to the nearby mill. The conditions were modest, to say the least. Sharing a bathroom with patrons underscored the challenges of his upbringing. Responsibility fell on his young shoulders early on as he helped out by racking pool tables and answering phone calls from worried wives searching for their absent husbands. These experiences gave him early lessons in perseverance and an understanding of human frailty. One of the defining aspects of Graham's early years was witnessing segregation firsthand. The cafe where he worked did not serve beer to black customers despite their presence in the town, a stark reminder of the social injustices that marked the era. Although this was common practice in many parts of the South at the time, for young Lindsey, these memories left an indelible mark. The divide in his community shaped his awareness of race and class in ways that subtly influenced his political instincts later in life. The evaluation of Graham's academic performance shows that he did not show outstanding talent as a student. His C grade and modest SAT performance in high school created uncertainty about his ability to pursue a college education. Graham maintained his ambitious vision for his future. His classmate at Daniel High School made a declaration about his future career path, which resulted in his classmates making fun of him. His resolve to succeed developed through this single incident, which would become vital for his future achievements. Graham achieved his first college enrollment at the University of South Carolina because his ambition led him to succeed against all obstacles, which created this achievement as an extraordinary family accomplishment. Graham developed his strong work habits during his South Carolina upbringing, which included through multiple challenges and responsibilities. The early exposure to hardship and the necessity of looking after his sister shaped his character profoundly. He developed his ability to cope with difficulties through his experiences in this remote area, which provided him with tough conditions to face. He maintained his self-control throughout his legal and military service, which enabled him to succeed at his political work. This blend of grit, hardship, and early responsibility prepared Lindsey Graham for the rigors of military service, another arena where his identity and resolve would be tested. Military service and legal career. After earning his law degree, Lindsey Graham's next step was a commitment to military service that would span over 3 decades. In 1982, he joined the United States Air Force as a Judge Advocate General Officer, beginning his career as an Air Force defense attorney. This role marked the start of a disciplined chapter in Graham's life, where legal expertise and military rigor intersected. His early assignments took him to Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where he gained experience prosecuting cases and defending personnel, sharpening the skills that would prove invaluable in both his military and political careers. Between 1984 and 1988, Graham served as the Air Force's chief prosecutor in Europe, an important position that added to his professional stature. Notably, during this period, he was involved in a high-profile case featured on the television program 60 Minutes, defending a pilot accused of marijuana use. The episode exposed flaws in Air Force substance testing procedures with Graham advocating for fairness and thorough investigation. His role demonstrated not only his legal acumen, but also an ability to navigate complex institutional challenges, traits that echoed throughout his public life. Upon returning to South Carolina, Graham transitioned to private law practice but maintained his military ties. He served as assistant county attorney and city attorney in Central, while moving into the South Carolina Air National Guard. His military career intertwined with his political ambitions, reflecting a deep commitment to public service on multiple fronts. During the Gulf War in 1991, Graham was recalled to active duty, further cementing his dual identity as a lawyer and serviceman, briefing pilots and advising on the laws of war. Graham started his military service as a private and earned multiple promotions until he ended his career as a colonel in 2015 after dedicating more than 33 years to active duty. The President George W. Bush official ceremony at the White House served to promote him, which showed his military achievements earned him respect from his fellow soldiers. He served as a reservist and political figure during this period, but he could not receive military pay because his congressional membership made him ineligible for military compensation. The military recognized his legal work for detainee and rule of law matters during his Iraq and Afghanistan deployments with the Bronze Star Medal. Graham performed his duties as a senior legal advisor by managing sensitive military prisoner cases, which involved complex legal issues. His war zone service provided him with valuable experience, which strengthened his political reputation as an experienced and principled leader. Graham used the discipline and skills he acquired through military training to establish his political career. His political success stemmed from his ability to earn respect, comprehend power dynamics, and handle difficult situations. From the discipline of the military courtroom, Graham stepped confidently into the rough-and-tumble world of South Carolina politics, where ambition met opportunity in unexpected ways. Early political ambitions and rise. Lindsey Graham's political journey began in earnest in 1994, a pivotal year when a window of opportunity opened in South Carolina's 3rd Congressional District. The longtime Democratic incumbent, Butler Derrick, announced his retirement after over 2 decades in office. Sensing his chance, Graham moved quickly, fueled by a mix of ambition and the discipline honed from years in the military. His campaign leaned heavily on his background as a military lawyer and active public servant, qualities that resonated with the conservative voters looking for fresh leadership. Graham's entry into politics was marked by a focus on local issues combined with a fierce determination to secure his district for the Republican Party. Winning the Republican primary with a clear majority, he defeated rivals with strong grassroots organizing and effective outreach. In the general election, he faced Democratic State Senator James Bryan Jr., but Graham's message struck a chord with voters seeking change. He secured a commanding 60% of the vote, becoming the first Republican to represent that district since Reconstruction, signaling a major political shift in the region. His early congressional career was characterized by a pragmatic approach to politics. Graham understood that building alliances was as important as making bold statements. Despite his later reputation for abruptness, in these formative years he focused on constituent services and local concerns, steadily building a base of support. His military background continued to bolster his standing, especially among veterans and conservative neighbors who appreciated his service. This foundation set the stage for his continued success and advancement. Re-election campaigns in the late 1990s further solidified Graham's grip on his district. Facing challenges from candidates connected to prominent political families such as Debbie Dorn, Graham's consistent popularity translated into comfortable victories. By 1998, he ran unopposed, a testament to his growing strength and name recognition. These early wins reflected not only effective campaigning, but also an ability to adapt to the changing political landscape in South Carolina. The new millennium began with Graham pursuing ambitions that extended beyond his House of Representatives duties. The Senate opened to Graham after Senator Strom Thurmond retired from his position in 2002. His current campaign faced increased examination from other candidates compared to his previous election attempts. He won the Republican primary without facing any opposition, yet he had to battle Alex Sanders, who worked as a chief judge and had extensive legal experience. Through his unyielding efforts to stump for votes and the expansion of his political apparatus, Graham achieved a slim yet historic triumph, which made him South Carolina's inaugural new senator after 3 decades. His Senate victory established a new era for him, which allowed him to expand his control from local affairs to national political matters. Graham began to learn about Washington's intricate political environment, which required him to maintain a balance between party loyalty and bipartisanship relationships. He began his career as a conservative Republican who maintained his party affiliation, but he would work with other parties when the situation demanded it. His deal-making abilities established him as an unusual political force because they caused tensions between him and his party's most extreme members. Graham established himself as a power within the Republican Party who worked throughout his entire life to build his political career. His relationship-building skills between lawmakers and influential political figures developed significantly. Through his activities as a mentor to potential candidates and his support of their campaigns, he established a network that reached throughout South Carolina and beyond. The fundraising and ground operation strategies he used built a political machine which would sustain him through upcoming difficulties. Those early victories opened the door to an even more challenging landscape of power and principle, where Graham's ability to adapt would be tested like never before. Senate success, Chahimo, and political maneuvering. Once in the Senate, Lindsey Graham quickly demonstrated an uncanny ability to navigate the volatile world of national politics. His initial elections to the chamber were comparatively smooth, with comfortable wins in 2008 and beyond, signaling broad support from his constituents despite occasional criticism back home. Graham's growing electoral strength owed much to his shrewd campaign operations and a deep understanding of South Carolina's political terrain. He mastered the art of balancing local concerns with national prominence, giving voters confidence that he could deliver results. But it wasn't just electoral success that defined Graham's Senate career. It was his evolving political posture. Known for fiery rhetoric and occasional strident conservatism, he also cultivated a reputation as a pragmatic negotiator willing to cross party lines. This duality often confused observers and frustrated party purists, especially during periods when he opposed more hardline factions within the Republican base. His nuanced approach helped him maintain relevance and influence in an increasingly fractious political environment. As Tea Party activism surged in the early 2010s, Graham found himself targeted by conservative challengers who viewed him as too accommodating to Democrats. Despite low approval ratings and vocal criticism, including threats of primary challenges, Graham's strategic savvy allowed him to weather these storms. He proactively forged relationships with potential opponents in South Carolina's congressional delegation, using fundraising and committee assignments as tools to neutralize rivals. This political chess game helped consolidate his power within the state and deter serious opposition. The so-called Graham machine became a well-oiled electoral powerhouse with multiple regional offices, thousands of paid campaign staff, and a vast network of volunteers and precinct captains. This organizational strength allowed him to blanket the state with positive messaging, focusing on constituent services and local issues rather than ideological purity. By controlling the narrative and making direct connections with voters, Graham effectively sidestepped some of the more volatile national political currents that dogged his peers. Graham's ability to blend conciliatory gestures with aggressive campaign tactics made him a formidable figure on Capitol Hill. He became known as a key player on issues related to national security, military affairs, and judiciary matters, leveraging his military background to enhance his credibility. His willingness to work with Democrats at times, particularly during contentious debates, earned criticism but also respect from political insiders who valued problem-solving over partisanship. This approach often placed him in the middle of high-stakes negotiations. Despite his successes, Graham's political journey hasn't been without controversy. His shifting alliances, especially his dramatic reversal in attitude toward Donald Trump, puzzled many voters and commentators. Initially a sharp critic during the 2016 Republican primaries, Graham's eventual embrace of Trump reshaped his political identity and influence. This realignment was more than opportunism. It reflected his deep understanding of the evolving Republican Party and its base, demonstrating his ability to adapt quickly when political survival was on the line. From hardened political battles, Graham's journey continues, shaped by the shifting alliances and challenges of national leadership. The 2016 presidential race and Trump dynamics. Lindsey Graham's decision to enter the 2016 presidential race was both a nod to his childhood dream and an attempt to raise his national profile. Despite his long tenure in the Senate, his campaign struggled from the very beginning. In a crowded field filled with larger-than-life personalities, Graham's numbers were barely visible, requiring a metaphorical magnifying glass to find his support in national polls. His traditional, polished style was overshadowed by the emergence of outsider candidates, most notably Donald Trump, whose brash and unfiltered rhetoric redefined the Republican primary landscape. Unlike Graham's measured, often sarcastic humor, Trump's shoot-from-the-hip approach captivated a disaffected base eager for change. Graham didn't shy away from openly criticizing Trump, using pointed language to highlight what he saw as the absurdity of Trump's proposals, often with a mix of sarcasm and bluntness. At times, Graham called Trump a jackass and a religious bigot, reflecting deep personal and ideological disdain. These public jabs, however, only seemed to fuel Trump's combative rally style and tendency to clap back mercilessly, even going so far as to joke about Graham's phone number during a press conference. Faced with mounting pressure and dwindling support, Graham saw the writing on the wall and withdrew from the race in December 2015, months before the primaries began. His exit was sudden, but underscored the gap between his vision for the Republican Party and the direction the GOP base was taking under Trump's influence. Yet, Graham's opposition to Trump wasn't the end of their political relationship. In fact, it marked the beginning of one of the most dramatic political realignments in recent memory. The period after Trump became president, through his election in 2016, saw Graham show a complete change in his political beliefs. The two individuals met in secret early in 2017, and their meeting proved to be very successful, which led Graham to share his personal contact information with the president. The relationship between these two public figures began a process which created confusion among people who watched them. The period from 2017 until the end of that year saw Graham and Trump play golf together multiple times, which showed their friendship, but it stood in direct opposition to Graham's previous statements of disapproval. The following years saw Graham become one of Trump's most active Senate backers, who praised the president's policies while supporting Trump's re-election efforts during the 2020 election. The speed of this transformation shocked observers because Graham had made serious negative statements about Trump during the primary elections. Graham established this alliance because he wanted to keep working as a Republican Party member who needed to follow Trump's presidential power and program. He showed his dedication to Trump by backing his claims while he showed up at Trump's rallies, which created major national conflict throughout the 2020 election period. The political shift demonstrated Graham's main characteristic, which allowed him to change his beliefs. The fact that he shifted from being a dedicated opponent to becoming a partner in their venture showed his need to live, which is necessary for staying in power inside a party that has undergone total transformation. For Graham to remain relevant in a world which grows more divided, he needed to use his power to maintain his position. He successfully handled Trump's unpredictable behavior, while he strengthened his power to influence important national security and policy matters. This political realignment set the stage for further scrutiny, not just of his public stances, but of his personal life, which carried its own set of controversies and mysteries, personal relationships and scandals. While Lindsey Graham's political life has been highly visible, his personal relationships remain enveloped in relative silence and speculation. His love life, by most accounts, has been fairly uneventful, at least on the surface. During law school, he dated a woman named Debbie, but the relationship didn't last long. Later, while stationed in Germany during his Air Force service, he had a relationship with a fellow judge advocate officer named Carol, who went on to serve on Colin Powell's staff. Beyond these early romances, Graham's personal life has been largely private, almost to a fault. Perhaps the most serious relationship Graham had was with an air hostess named Sylvia during his time at a German air base. Their romance nearly led to marriage, but it ended due to practical impediments. Sylvia's elderly mother couldn't relocate to South Carolina, and Graham himself wasn't planning to stay in Germany long-term. The brief but intense connection left its mark on Graham, but ultimately dissolved as they parted ways. This glimpse into his romantic history showed a man who struggled to balance personal commitments with the demands of his military and political careers. Despite the relative quiet of his dating history, Graham's private life has not escaped public controversy. In 2020, social media erupted when a well-known adult film star claimed Graham was secretly gay, using a specific hashtag said to be Graham's nickname among male explicit workers. These accusations sparked a wave of speculation and revived long-standing rumors about his private life. This was all the more striking given Graham's vocal record, especially his past defense of individuals opposing gay marriage, creating a dissonance between public stance and private whispers. Graham has continuously denied all allegations against him, which he considers to be false accusations. He insists on his heterosexuality and dismisses the rumors as politically motivated attacks designed to undermine him. The ongoing circulation of stories about his alleged homosexual encounters and hidden affairs at gay bars has created constant interest and doubt throughout both the political and media communities. The persistent conflict between rumors and official denials creates additional complexity in Lindsey Graham's public persona. People have studied Graham's relationship with Darlene, his sister, because it constitutes one of his few revealed personal relationships. After their parents died unexpectedly, Graham became Darlene's legal guardian, and he supported her through challenging times until she became an adult. Their relationship developed into a bond that made them feel almost like one person. Darlene joined her brother on the campaign trail during his 2015 presidential run to show voters his human side, which he usually kept hidden from public view. Graham's relationship with his sister shows the difficulties he faces in maintaining his private life, which he prefers to keep hidden from others. He shows his true self through family interactions, while he keeps his romantic relationships hidden from the public eye. The absence of transparency leads to public speculation, which causes people to investigate how personal conflicts shape his professional conduct. From personal controversies, the legacy Graham is crafting will be shaped not only by his words and policies, but also by how these private matters intersect with the public's perception of him. Legacy, controversy, and influence. Lindsey Graham's career is a study in contrasts, a politician who has navigated a shifting political landscape while maintaining an image both resilient and enigmatic. His legacy is complex, shaped not only by his legislative achievements and influence within the Republican Party, but equally by the unresolved contradictions in his personal and public life. Over nearly 3 decades, Graham has demonstrated an extraordinary ability to adapt, survive, and at times reinvent himself, a trait that will define how history remembers him. At the heart of his legacy is his role as a bridge between factions, sometimes acting as a pragmatic deal-maker and other times as a fiery partisan. Graham's willingness to reach across the aisle has won him allies and critics alike. His influence on military and national security policy remains a cornerstone of his career, shaped by his extensive service and legal expertise. He has played pivotal roles in debates surrounding detainee treatment, war powers, and defense appropriations, often drawing on his experience in uniform to inform his positions. Yet, Graham's political life hasn't been without controversy. His shifting stances and alliances, especially his dramatic embrace of Donald Trump after initially opposing him, have raised questions about principle versus expediency. Critics argue that these changes reflect opportunism, while supporters see them as adaptive leadership responding to an evolving electorate. This duality feeds into the broader narrative of Graham as a savvy political survivor, one who balances personal ambition with the pragmatic realities of power. Beyond policy and alliances, his legacy is also colored by the persistent whispers about his private life. The rumors and scandals that have followed Graham add a layer of mystique and complexity seldom seen in American politics. This tension between his conservative public stance and the controversies surrounding his personal relationships complicates public perception, making it difficult to parse the man from the politician. Whether this shadow will ultimately tarnish or humanize his reputation remains to be seen. The Graham Machine political network, which Graham developed throughout South Carolina, enables him to maintain his political power even after his career has ended. He has developed a political base through his work with upcoming politicians, and his ability to manage basic political operations, and his capacity to generate funds which will remain after his retirement. His organizational achievements enable him to establish permanent control over the GOP state party structure, which allows him to determine its political orientation and institutional goals. His public persona originates from his personal narrative, which details his experiences with hardship and loss, and his dedication to serving others. His military service and political aspirations, and his role as guardian of his sister after their parents died, demonstrate his ability to overcome challenges which many voters find relatable. The private aspects of his life demonstrate that he must continuously find a way to balance his duties as a public servant with his need for personal time, which has become his main life struggle. Lindsey Graham's ultimate legacy will depend on how people assess his legislative achievements and political skills and personal life. In today's political climate, which experiences major disruptions and intense political conflicts, he represents a dualistic figure who combines opposing traits because he displays both aggressive and peaceful behavior, and he holds strong beliefs while maintaining common sense, and he reveals his public identity while safeguarding his private life. Understanding him requires accepting this inherent tension. Lindsey Graham's journey is one of resilience, contradictions, and relentless pursuit of power amid personal sacrifice. His story reveals how complex and hidden lives can coexist with public ambition. If you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to like and subscribe for more compelling stories behind the headlines.